If I suddenly stop uploading videos, it's because my camera just keeps dying. Hola! Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the Jlpt since a lot of people are gonna take it in December. Probably. I'm not gonna take it this year, but I think I'm gonna take the N1 next year. Truth be told, I'm not a huge fan of certificates of this kind, but I understand the necessity for them to a certain degree, just as a reference point. Most people who are watching this know what the Jlpt is, I assume, but for those who don't, it's basically an exam that tests your knowledge of the Japanese language. There are 5 levels, with 5 being the lowest and 1 the highest. It takes place once or twice a year, depending on where you live. In my city or country, it takes place only once a year, which is already a little bit annoying, but what can you do? Anyways, once you pass the exam and get the certificate, it does not expire, unlike, for example, certain English certificates. You can also take any level you want, meaning you don't have to start at 5 to take the test for 4. You know, you can just choose whichever level you want to take the test for and just take it. Why even take this test? Everyone has their own reasons, of course, but the most common ones are to study in Japan, to work in Japan, or just to test your knowledge to see where you stand. Now, to study or work in Japan, most universities and companies ask for a N2 level, which is about the same as B1 or B2 maybe. So I guess that's also the most popular level to take. And I'll talk about this specific level in a bit since that's the level I took. Now, while I think the Jlpt isn't all that, there's no harm in taking it, you know, just to see for yourself where you're lacking and so on. You'll hear from a lot of people to take the test at a lower level than you're actually aiming for. For example, if you want to take the N2, you should take the N3, sort of like a test drive. And I mean, you can, but I personally think it's better to challenge yourself, especially if you need the certificate for a specific reason or if time is of the essence. Because I think if you want to take the N2, then you already know that you're probably gonna be able to pass it, right? So why aim lower, you know? But that's up to you. And if you do it for fun, why not? But I just want to say that it's not necessary to take a lower level first. You'll know best what you want, so trust yourself on that. There are a ton of videos on the Jlpt and how people passed it and so on. So you'll find lots of useful tips on here. You can study for it like you do for any other test. And for that you can use the Matome series or the Shinkansen Master series. I used the Matome, they look like this, where you have grammar, kanji, reading comprehension and listening comprehension. And I didn't get close to finishing any of these books, so I just didn't have the time, even though it says like, if you do 2 pages in a day, you'll be finished in 6 weeks. But I think that's a little too much. But I think like these 2 series are the most popular, but I heard that the Shinkansen Master are a little bit harder. I never used them, so I can't comment on them. Anyways, you can just go through the books and be done with it. But to me, that's a little bit like studying for a test at school, you know, where you'll just forget everything as soon as the test is over. So aside from the classic textbook studying, I really recommend immersion. Watch and read as much as you can in Japanese. You should do that anyways, but especially before the test. The exam itself is completely passive, so you don't have to write anything in Japanese, which is why I recommend, you know, passive practice, like listening and reading. Aside from these books, I'd like to recommend the channel Nihongo no Mori. Their videos are extremely helpful. I only watched them after I passed my test, but I really wish I had watched them before, so maybe I would have gotten a better score. Now, I took the test only once in my life, and it was for the N2. And as I said, I passed it. And to be honest, I didn't prepare a ton for it. But I did watch some videos on the test to get an idea of how it's gonna go down. And most people said that the reading comprehension part was the most difficult. So I thought, okay, great, I'll just read as much as I can, which I did, and I read mostly manga. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter what you read as long as you do it. And the important thing is that you don't have to understand every little detail or word or sentence or grammar structure to know the content, you know? The important thing is to get the main points. The thing about the test, what's hard isn't really the texts themselves, but the questions. So you read the text and then the question goes, what's the main thing the author stresses in this text? Or what is the thing he wants to express the most in this text? And then you get a bunch of answers and you're like, well, this sounds legit, but I think this is also right. So which one are you gonna choose? So even though let's say you understood the text perfectly fine and you just understand every single word, you know, it can be a little tricky to understand what they're looking for, you know, what kind of answer they want. Because like in my head, most of these answers seemed correct. It's like, what is the most correct? So yeah, I'm mentally prepared for that. When it comes to grammar and vocabulary, I mostly knew or guessed, to be honest. And when I really didn't know an answer at all, I just skipped the question for now so I can come back to it later after answering everything I did know for sure. Because if you get stuck on one question, you'll just waste time. And now for the listening comprehension. A lot of people give the advice that you should write down notes, but for me personally, this approach never worked. I think you just end up not hearing a lot of what's being said in the conversation because you're busy writing stuff down. So I just looked out the window and listened. I imagine it like a friend telling me a story. If you think about it, when a friend tells you a story and then you tell the story to somebody else, you most likely remember the contents of the story, you know, without having taken any notes. So why would that be different now? I think it's just the stress of like the awareness of this being a test that stresses people out, and so they forget to relax and just listen. But I do get that everybody's different, so if that writing down approach has worked for you, then keep doing that if it helps you. One thing that I didn't think was gonna be a problem was filling out the answer sheet. Because you get the exam sheet with the questions and an extra answer sheet. And I would mark my answers on the exam sheet. So, you know, after I was done, I would check it again and read through everything again. And so it was just easier to correct that way. And once I was really sure that this is my answer, then I filled in the answer sheet. And on the answer sheet, you basically have to fill out a circle with your pen, and it takes some time. And that was really stressful. I almost thought that even though I knew the answers, some of these questions would go unanswered simply because I didn't have the time to fill in the stupid circle. So for me, the whole test was stressful, but not because it was particularly difficult. But generally, I don't really like tests of this kind. It took place in the morning, and I am not a morning person, so it was really hard to focus. And also there's a break in between. I don't know if that's in every country, but we had a break, I think after the listening, I don't remember, after the grammar section or whatever, like halfway through there's a break, and I hated it because I just wanted to get it over with and go home. And another thing is that I feel like tests such as this one really don't say much about your actual ability. Like for example, when I look at grammar structures that you're supposed to know once you have the N2 level, I'm sometimes like, I never used this in my life, you know, or I don't even know what this means exactly. So I think my level is even much lower maybe than the Jlpt N2. But then I see stuff for N1 and I'm like, that's easy. So it's not really, it just doesn't say much about what you actually know. And I think not passing this test can be discouraging for a lot of people, and then you have to wait 6 to 12 months to take it again, when in reality you could probably pass it in 2 months or so, especially if you missed it by like a few points. And it's really annoying having to wait that long. And you know, there are people who have the N2, and like even on YouTube I used to see people who had the N2, which is, mind you, not that high of a knowledge. Like, I'm not saying this to to sound arrogant or whatever, but like N2 is not, compared to a native level, it's like nothing. And even the N1. But I used to see people who had the N2 and who were like, I'm fluent in Japanese and I can read everything fluently, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, no. Like even actual Japanese native speakers who live their whole life in Japan can't read everything fluently, so shut up. Unless, of course, fluent to you means you don't have a lot of trouble understanding everything, you know, not every single word maybe, but that's a legit definition for fluid, you know, but it depends on the person, because I saw some people, but that's not what this video is about. In any case, I think passing this exam doesn't really mean a lot. It means you studied a lot for the test at least, and that's respectable, obviously, but people telling me, oh, I got this exam, this and this and this certificate, it's like, fine, but yeah, cool. But yeah, it is a passive test. Keep that in mind. And the actual real test is, of course, real life. So if you don't pass this test, then don't worry about it. Learning a level to a high level takes so much time, so don't stress over it, or you'll just stop having fun doing it. I think that's the most important thing when learning any language. You should have fun with it. It shouldn't be like this competition and this just, you know, very theoretical studying where you just sit in a room with a textbook and stuff. Like, that is important as well, but I think that should make up 10 to 20% of your language learning. But yeah, maybe I'll make a whole video on that, although there are so many great videos on immersion. But yeah, that being said, I wish everyone good luck this year. And of course, I hope you pass, especially if you really need the certificate right now for the future. Yeah, that is it for this week. I'll go back to manga next week, so don't worry. So hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.